So I'll try and keep this a short video because it was an incredibly short make. As part of my job, there is a role which cycles through the team. Each team member does the role for about 2 weeks and then it passes to the next. There's a dozen of us in the team, so it means you're on this particular duty for about 2 weeks in every 6 months. This time round, I now need to know and remember and type a 16-character ID all the time. I mean every few minutes. And because of the current remote system restrictions, copy and paste is not an option. Otherwise I could solve this in software. Now, a 16-character ID is not that big a deal. Except there's something funny about my keyboard, and I've only recently come to realise this, which is I need to type an underscore followed by a capital letter. And there's something in the keyboard that doesn't like me doing that. Even just in a plain text editor, if I try and type an underscore followed by a capital, it automatically seems to decapitalise that capital, which makes it incredibly hard to type the ID that I need to type. This whole combination of weird factors just ends up with me in this processing rage. So late on yesterday, I just got sick of typing this code in wrong and decided to put together a quick hardware solution. I knew I had an old Teensie 3.2 in my hardware bits, recycled from an old project. I mean, talk about standing on the shoulders of giants. Paul Stoffridgen, I love your hardware, I love your software. The Teensie was already on a chunk of proto board, so I just needed to solder on a tact switch with a button cap. The Teensie already has internal pull-ups, which you can enable in software. And then you can select USB type keyboard and program it up. It's about 10 lines of code to have it type for you as a keyboard when the button is pressed. Now, until recently, that's where my projects would typically stall. I could either go and build a custom wooden enclosure for this device, or I could order a off-the-shelf plastic container from eBay and then drill and Dremel the required access points and buttonholes for it. But now I have a Prusa Mini, so I can just print one. I can print a custom enclosure. My first revision took about 10 minutes to sketch up, and then the first print took about 30 minutes, and that should have been it. But this is where the learning comes. I mixed up the direction in which I thin-walled early on in my sketching, so I ended up with a box that was too small. So this is one of my new golden printing rules that I've come across, which is measure twice, print once. I also decided to make a push-fit enclosure, which worked pretty well, although I didn't leave enough clearance in my first revision for the solder points on the bottom of the proto board. So my next golden rule, always check in assembly view. It takes a second to spot a fitting together error in assembly view, whereas reprinting the part obviously takes a lot longer. I came back this morning, I printed off revision 2, fitted together quite nicely, and now it's done. And I can spend the next 14 days not mistyping this 16-character ID. Anyway, thanks for watching and stay safe.